But in the interest of time, I'm going to keep going here. And today's schedule, I'm going to talk about the past year, the year ahead of us this year, summer to come, and some of all the incredible connections that we've made, really quite by accident. And that's the kind of stuff that you can do as well. And Pat and Sarah are going to talk about hammock camping and it's how light and comfortable. Dennis Skadson, who's agreed to be on our board as well. So he is on our nomination list. So appreciate that, Dennis. He's going to talk about Northeast South Dakota water trails. And then we have about a half hour for a business meeting where we have some board elections. We'll pass out a ballot and ask you to approve those, and that's in accordance with our bylaws. And so that's just kind of a governing document to keep the club going, which started in 1981, well before many of us came along to the club. And we got a membership and financial report, and then a short break, and you can spend some time over there at, talking to Carolyn Vermolm, who's in the Friends group. Carolyn, will you stand up? She's the executive director this year of the Friends of the Missouri National Recreational River. And if you say that 3 times, there's a prize. Otherwise, it's known as FOMNR as you become more familiar with it. But Carolyn's group works to advance the awareness and support of projects along the river. And she was speaking here last year. So welcome, Carolyn. And then Dave Hellman's gonna, at 2:00, he'll talk about his trip to Gates of the Rockies. And there's some incredible coincidences that happened there. I'll leave it at that for now. Bob Foley's gonna introduce a little bit of information about a river trail that National Park Service is putting together, I'll say, but it's kind of existed over the years, and the role that we can play as paddlers, just taking a segment of the river and identifying some information. And then Mary Fink would like to talk about base camping in the Boundary Waters. She's been up there 20 plus years with Dave and many of you, and that will be a great presentation with pictures. And then we've got some drawings for we got a lot of gift cards this year and state park passes. Nice thing about gift cards or money, they say the color is never wrong, it never goes out of style. So with that, we're going to end it. We'll go over and have a sandwich or a drink at the Gateway Bar, which we've had in the past, and that's a good informal time to maybe talk and follow up with each other on things that we might have talked about and shared today. So with that, I'm going to step through our schedule. Oh, one last thing. Craig, are you out there? Craig, you want to stand up for a sec? Craig made these beautiful paddles. And if you are interested, as I am, about how to make a paddle or how that might work, then Craig is the guy to talk to. And so welcome, Craig. He lives over in Worthington, and he and I have talked a bit about that, and they're beautiful paddles, and I think there's nothing more satisfying than building your own paddle, and if you want, building your own boat, right, Matt? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to move on, and Pat, could you give me about a 5-minute warning so I don't go long? And then before we get going, we've lost a real river friend. Rick Hurd is his name, and they have a family campground, I'll call it, with electricity, a camping kitchen, and bathroom and water. And they are roughly at Verdell Landing, but they're on the South Dakota side. Many of us have stopped there over the years, and they've had a camp with their kids and neighbors and community long before I came along. But they have been really generous with us. They've supported, it's been a kayak challenge checkpoint one year when there was a bit of flooding I have been there several overnights. We used them. We camped there over the rendezvous. They're good people. So the park, this monument here, is that it dedicates the property to freedom and peaceful life. It includes family members who served, and some died in World War I, II, Korea, and Vietnam. So please keep Mary and the Hurd family in your thoughts and prayers. So I'm not sure what will become of the park. I suspect it will go on. And maybe if you're there, you can cut some weeds or something. I don't know. We do what we can. They're up south of Avon, I'll say. So kind of some fundamentals that we take for granted as we become more familiar with the club, and some things I'm revisiting. We're a nonprofit organization, so donations can be written off. Back when Dick Davidson started, it was we wanted to kind of answer the question. Well, they would put together a newsletter, and they would answer the question: where do we put in, where do we take out, and what should we expect? And if you lay those points over any information that you might ask someone, I think that's really our mission. But they used to basically, you'd sign up and you'd get a newsletter and pay for postage. Well, now that information is free and really too much online and everywhere else, it's like, well, what value, what value do we have? And a lot of that is shared value. Like if I have a trailer and it's like we got 4 or 5 of us going out, then let's pool shuttling and trailer and all that stuff, and information and locations, and that answers the take out, put in, and the what to expect is a pretty broad subject, and I'll touch on that later. But every annually we try to have a calendar done before May. That's on the front page of the website. The role of Facebook, like it or not, is to connect us all. So, if one guy or gal is planning a trip and reaches out and said, "Hey, anybody doing this or interested in doing that?" then you can facilitate everything. Now, we as a club do try to hold an event at gmail.com. And our current board I'm serving as president this year. Been on the board since 2007. We'd love for you to join the board, and I think the real opportunity is that you're just a little bit more in tune to the direction of everybody. And so I want to thank everybody. Many of the board members here are contributing in some way, and overall, on average, we have about 50 single members and about 25. So that's about 75 to 100 members and about 3,900 Facebook members. Last year, we did a number of things in cooperation with other groups, which works pretty well. I would like to point out, like locally, the Jaunt, it was the second annual. It was just yanked into Clay County in honor of Jake Ryder, and that will be again. I'm happy to announce that we work with our friends over in Crofton, Nebraska. They hold some races. There's a cleanup up in Pierre. Pat did the Red River Challenge in Canada, of which maybe we'll get a little bit more of a contingent going up there this year. And then the President's Cruise, you get to pick what we're going to do. So I did kind of a short, kind of a good route, which led to the North Alabama by Goat Island. And so it was a slower pace, and it was easier for people to attend and travel and things like that. So that's why we did that. But the year ahead, we typically try to run events from about May to October. There's a big Sioux Water Festival. I believe is that Brookings, Mary, is right? Yeah. And adaptive paddling is here in Sioux Falls. It's really a rewarding thing to do, where we help those who are physically disabled to get out on the water. The paddling fair generally held in about June, depending on wind and everything. with the Sioux Falls Parks and Rec, and then the Jaunt will happen. And there's a link on our website to sign up for that. Basically, you're linking to the site that Jared has put up. There will be another President's Cruise, the River Trail Mapping Project that Bob's going to talk about. And we always like to get over the Niobrara when we can, and then perhaps the Red River Challenge that Pat did last year and competed in. So June 23, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. June 23 is the Missouri River speed record. They're going after the fastest known time. So they estimate they're going to be through South Dakota July 5 through 10, and that's the Gulf. And set a fastest known time. Scott, if you remember, was here last year talking about that. Same group. John.
2 years ago.
Was it 2 years already? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So anyway, that will be something. And I, for one, would think about, trying to get out on the river and having a fire or something. Because for those of us who've done the 340, there were people out there that were doing things like fires, and they'd call your boat name and they'd look up your name and they'd, yell something inspiring. And so I'd like to try to do that. But these guys will be going pretty fast, and it's going to be easy to miss them. So we'll see what happens, but we want to support them. And like I said, July 18th is the Jaunt. You can sign up. There's a link right on the front page of the SDCKA.org website, and I encourage you to do that. And some of the connections that it's made, with through the club and experiences. It's not just what we plan, but it's kind of what happens. And I don't know. A while back, we connected well with the Missouri River paddlers, and this will be very familiar to many of you, but Norm Miller started the group in 2004 when he decided to paddle upstream from the Gulf of Mexico, upstream, which is the route that Lewis and Clark expedition took. And I chose this picture because she's female, Marine, and she wrote a book, and because I like dogs, and because I like dogs, she picks up this rescue dog named Hank, and she takes it with him fairly shortly. It wasn't like this dog she had forever, and I think that's just a great story. So this is the first through paddler that I ever met. I ran him down, and sometimes it happens by email or something like that. His name's Andy Bew from Texas, and we touch bases every now and then. Dave Hillman, who is here and speaking. Dave was smart. He came through in 2022 during the rendezvous. Yeah, so yeah, that was a great week, wasn't it? Yeah. And then our own Tom and Jacob Boyko, who I didn't know, but they're from Brandon, and they weren't all over Facebook. It was a little harder to follow, but I'd learned of Tom, and he's a member and come to our events. It's been great. And then some of us have decided, primarily, Bob, Darcy, Cheryl, because kind of we keep track of the river. We thought we'd start handing out these patches. Because we had an event that we did with the national parks. And so we found Dirk Rohrbach, and we get him a patch. I paddled for 4 days with Neil Moore, who was on a 2-year, 22-river expedition from Astoria, Washington in the Pacific to the Statue of Liberty. This is his route. And there's so many side stories here, but there's no time. So Neil is awesome, and he finally makes it, and he battles the cold and just amazing. And then just by circumstance, we have these paddlers found each other, and then we end up meeting them in Yankton, and a lot of this centers around portaging to get them over the dam and how that works, and that's why they are interested. And we gave them patches. And then the craziest guy was Nick Norris. He's not a paddler, but he designed this sailboat in Florida and he paddles, he motors, and he was just out there when we were out there, and we saw this guy, and it's like I was joking, like calling it the pirate ship. So Nick went to Florida where he built this boat, and he told us he's a Army pilot, and he trained others. And I think he was between assignments when he did this trip, but he said he was on the short list to go to Mars. And he'd been accepted. I thought, I don't know, I don't think he went, but that was crazy. And then in 2022 is a rendezvous of all these through paddlers who we've gotten to know. And they're years old, and for different reasons, he got caught in the October snowstorm in South Dakota yet, and we found him warm places to stay along his trip, and that's when I learned that everybody knows somebody downriver. That's the mantra of mine, and it's so true. So we were able to get Bill shelter really all the way to Nebraska City, and then down there, somebody else knows somebody. And then just recently in October, I met Nat and Mikey, and they're a couple from the UK. I went to try to paddle with them for 2 days and get them through the Springfield Delta, which can kind of be a little bit tricky. The weather wasn't good, so we just hung out and ate and did laundry and got to know each other, had camping cabins and fires, and it was wonderful. And so they finally made it on January 19th. They just stayed ahead of the really cold weather. 165 days, about 3,500 miles. They went through the Atchafalaya Swamp, which is a little bit of a shortcut, and then they cut through the Intercoastal Waterway. And Dave Hillman was incredibly instrumental in helping them, and probably, you might have saved their life, Dave. I don't know. He will, yeah, because these guys, they're not really paddlers, I think, and it was just, and things just happen. So some old coach used to say, you suit up, you show up, and you see what happens, and that's kind of what can happen when you're out there. And so we met these people without a great deal of effort, and a lot of it's by luck. So make plans for your next adventure. And I want to thank our sponsors who do things for us and have some door prizes later. And we ask you to join us on the water and plan your adventures. And if you have any questions, track me down. I'll remain on the board. I would be okay if I wasn't the president. And we'll just leave this up here, and I'm going to hand it off to Pat and Sarah to talk about hammock camping. So thank you, everybody.